With its seemingly long list of benefits, which includes boosting mood, alleviating pain, promoting healthy sleep and healthy digestion, improving skin conditions, and so many more, it's no wonder people are turning to essential oils to support their health and well-being. The popularity of these wonder-working oils is stirring interest in learning how to extract them for personal use or for business. Welcome to Extraction Essentials, where you'll learn and discover how to create a formula using quality engineered products. Hosted by Tony Frischknecht, this podcast is all about the process of extraction tools and the equipment that surrounds the extraction lab or facility. Create an income while enjoying the many benefits and uses of essential oils by tuning in to Extraction Essentials.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Extraction Essentials. I'm your host, Tony Frischknecht, and I am here with Nick Gay, Head of Product Management. Nick, how are we doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you, Tony?
Awesome. We had a great show with you last week where we discussed the cloning process of plants, more so cloning process of lavender. And today we're going to continue that journey. So if you guys missed last week's episode and you're interested in cloning, please go check it out. As we move forward here, Nick's going to talk to us about the growing process of lavender, and then we're going to actually talk about the harvesting. So people are doing this in their garden. You're doing this in your garden, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So for yourself, to make sense, how many of these plants have you created to plant in your garden so that you're able to have enough biomass to actually extract anything from?
Yeah. So I have 4 plants of this exact size and this exact type in my
How
garden.
big is that pot? Is that an 8-inch pot, 10-inch pot?
About 8 inches around and
okay.
foot and a half tall. Yeah. So I have 4 of these in my garden. I have 4 of these in my garden, and then I have two more of these at my girlfriend's house. And then I'm also taking a bunch of clones from them as well that I'm going to be telling you how to plant, and then also, how to grow them in order to get and then harvest as well, so that we can make our essential oil.
What are the difference between the two plants you have here?
Yeah, this is Spanish lavender and this is English lavender. The English lavender is a little bit more hardy. So we're here in Colorado, so that's a good one to pick if you want it to regrow year after year in your garden. Whereas this one, it's not going to make it through the winter. So I'm either going to have to bring it in or put it in the greenhouse or something like that.
Okay, so what's our next step?
So yeah, like we talked about last week, we took some clones off of this plant. And so what you could do is you could take these and plant them in, your pot of choice. I often like to use bag pots. It's a fabric pot. And the reason I like those is because they're big and they're cheap. They're usually about $3 for a 5-gallon pot, which is probably about 3 times the size of this one. So with that, we could put, 1, 2, or 3 of these in there, kind of spaced out. And that way we can get to harvest faster. But as far as where to grow, how much water and things like that, lavender always likes full sun. It prefers a little bit of humidity, which is something I'm not going to be able to give them, but that's all right. And then they like to get water, but not too much water. So you always want to let the soil dry out almost fully. So for example, if you stick your pinky in there and it's still wet, if your pinky goes down about an inch and it's still wet, don't water yet.
Mm-hmm.
But right after you plant, you always want to water it in and make sure that it's about the moisture level of a wrung out sponge.
What can you share with people about overwatering and underwatering?
So overwatering, I feel like, underwatering, you'll see it. The plant will be like, or you'll get brown leaves or something, or the leaves will start curling, something like that. Whereas overwatering, it may look like your plant's okay, and then all of a sudden you see all these little gnats and bugs flying around, or you get root aphids or something like that. Or it could cause mold, mildew, all that sort of stuff. So, I always tend to underwater than overwater just because of that fact.
Sounds like overwatering is create a lot of problems.
And then once you do get all those bugs, they infect all your other plants, and then you got to rewatch the episode about us making a bug spray and be using that in your garden. So
Yeah, exactly. So it's funny that you brought that up, guys. If you are interested in making your own insect repellent, and please check out our episode. We've got a couple of them. We do one on insect repellent, and then we also do one for the plants themselves. Correct?
yes, correct.
Yeah. Sorry, guys. I do a lot of shows, and sometimes I don't remember them all. So watering is extremely important. I know that sounds silly. Well, yes, you guys out there, of course it's important, but it's not only important, but it's when it comes down to underwatering can be an issue too.
Totally.
I think in my growing past, this was probably the number one thing that we had issues with, is teaching people how to correctly water the plants. Because you can also stress the plant out too if you're not giving it enough water. So there's definitely a happy medium in there. Nick, what's the next step we're going to? So of course we grow this, we're ready to go. It's harvest time. What do we do?
Yeah, so it's harvest time. So first, the first things you'll want to look for before you harvest is there's certain times when you should harvest. So for example, if you want to see these little flower starts here, I don't know if you can see that on the screen there.
Yeah.
So those we're going to leave on. These are the newest flowers.
Okay.
So those are for next harvest. So if you don't see any of those yet, don't start harvesting. And the reason behind that is because the plant needs the flowers for various different reasons.
Okay.
But so the flowers that we're going to harvest are the oldest ones. You'll tell that because they will start to produce these, at least on this specific strain. They'll start to produce these things, and then they'll start to kind of dry out and curl.
Okay.
So yeah, we'll get right into it and start clipping. So where you're going to harvest, you're going to want to cut right here. So you leave the leaves. So you just cut off that much.
Okay.
So I'm just going to go through here, clip all those off.
So you're specifically just clipping the flower down a couple inches from where the flower ends, then it looks like.
Correct. And then you could see here how I left these smaller ones.
Yeah.
Because these are fairly new flowers as well. So I don't want to pick those too early. But also, there's a lot of people who do, some crazy experiments with early harvesting. So, if you have a bunch of lavender and you want to try it out and harvest some early and see what the difference are between a mature flower and a smaller flower. So like a good example of that would be rosebud essential oil.
Okay.
Where instead of running the actual rose, they run the bud before it has actually opened, and it produces a different flavor and a different smell. So
yeah, because I've heard about this in peppers. If you harvest peppers at different times of their growth cycle, they're actually spicier at certain times earlier than later. So you can some strains you can grow longer, and if you want them hotter, you just extend their life maybe a week or two prior to harvest, and then of course you get a stronger spiciness from the pepper itself.
And then another thing is, like with things like flowers or lettuce, kind of the more fragile things, you'll always want to harvest that in the morning, as opposed to the end of the day when it's been heating up the entire day. And so that way you retain a little bit more stuff in there.
Excellent. Okay, awesome. So we've got growing. Obviously, I'm sure there's a lot of you that have questions about that, and harvesting. If you guys have questions for us on growing, please reach out to us at extractionessentials.com. We'll get that info and we can contact you, give you some answers. Because this is not complicated stuff, but there are certain things that can create issues for you. So we'll help you out with that. So please let us know, and we can give you some info on that. Next week, we're going to come with another episode, and we're going to guys take you through the curing process and also how the little buddy extractor takes and extracts these different compounds from the plant itself. And so we'll talk about that. Nick, thanks so much for joining us today. Awesome stuff. This is cool stuff. I really enjoy talking to you about this, because going through from start to finish is not really thought about very often. Understanding those dynamics and sections and everything that takes to do this really makes you think, do I want to do this all on my own? Or do I want to take it to the next step? So we're here to show you guys the next step. Come join us next week for that step. We'll see you guys there.
You have just listened to another informative episode of Extraction Essentials with Tony Frischknecht. We invite you to come back next time as we strive to provide useful knowledge and tools every week to help you on your extraction business. You can also visit extractionessentials.com for additional resources and to know more about working with Tony. See you again next time.